What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, y'all already know the drill. Hit the subscribe button, post notification bells, like button. All you need to do, show the support. It'll be greatly appreciated. In the midst of wild card weekend, had 2 games yesterday, and then we got 2 games today. And then a doubleheader tomorrow, kind of impromptu doubleheader tomorrow. So always nice to have playoff football. But obviously, we want our Falcons back in playoff football. But hey, there's always next year, right? Anyways, man, let's talk about what could be a key component in getting us back to those playoffs. The biggest key component, continuing the search for the head coach, continuing to look into these head coaching candidates. Obviously, we've already looked into a few. We looked into Harbaugh. We've looked into Ben Johnson, looked into Bobby Sloak. We did the stream about Bill Belichick last night, talking about him and everything that there is. Belichick, I said this once, I'll say it again. It was too big just to do a video like this. You had to do a live stream about a Bill Belichick. And that's not to discount any of the other candidates because they're all viable candidates for a reason. But with that being said, man, today we're going to be looking at Mike Macdonald, the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, who the Falcons already actually interviewed yesterday. I think Friday. I think they interviewed Mike Macdonald on Friday. So without further ado, man, let's get right into it. Let's look at Coach Macdonald, what his resume looks like. And he has played a key part in obviously one of the NFL's top defenses this season, leading the Ravens to the number 1 seed in the AFC as that team's defensive coordinator. It's a lot of the reason why he is in this position at only 36 years old, as what some would maybe say is a major, somewhat of a hot commodity as far as a defensive coordinator goes for NFL coaching candidates. And when you really look at that Baltimore organization and the defense that he's put out there this year, it really it goes into that Baltimore culture. It does. He actually, even though he's only 36, as we're going to get into in a minute, he has many years in that Baltimore franchise combined. And we obviously know that the Baltimore Ravens, they've been known as one of the more successful and marquee franchises in the past 20 years, winning 2 Super Bowls. They're obviously known for that ferocious defense, from back in the day, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. They've always had a good defense in Baltimore. And it's always been consistent, and it's always been dominant. And not only that, man, one of the bigger things I think a lot of people are going to look at and why a lot of people, will want him here is the local ties here in the state of Georgia. He went to Sentinel High up in I think that's up near the Athens area, if I'm not mistaken. And then he did attend the University of Georgia studying finance and graduated summa cum laude, which, if you don't know what that is, that's basically the highest honor you can graduate with. That basically means you are like in the top 5, the top 10% of your class as far as GPA goes. So yeah, this boy knows what the hell he's doing. He knows what he's doing when it comes to at least finances and all that, and what he studied at UGA. Now, whether he studied how to be a successful NFL head coach or maybe prepare for that, I don't know. But looking at his coaching history, started off at Cedar Shoals High School, linebacker and running back coach. Then he went to Georgia. He had a little bit of experience here. He was a graduate assistant and a defensive quality control assistant with Georgia back when Mark Richt was the head coach. And then he went up to Baltimore in 2014, and he spent 7 seasons there in that organization. He was a defensive assistant. He was a defensive backs coach and a linebacker coach before he went to Michigan in 2021 to become the defensive coordinator, and then he would make the trip back to Baltimore in 2022 to become the defensive coordinator, which he has been ever since then. And then when looking at the potential pros of bringing Mike Macdonald in potentially as head coach, is he understands culture. I think one of the biggest things with Mike Macdonald is he understands the culture. If you were to bring him in, I feel like a Mike Macdonald, he can be a culture builder because obviously he's been a part of that culture in Baltimore for many, many years. Well, not many, many years, but many years. So you get the point. Nearing a decade in total in Baltimore. Understanding that culture. Understand what they pride themselves on, which is a good football team, great defense, and a good enough offense. That's what the Baltimore Ravens have been. And obviously Lamar Jackson's coming in, and the offense has gotten their love also. And also, man, he understands the culture down here in the state of Georgia. He understands, even though maybe it wasn't, necessarily like in the city of Atlanta, he wasn't going to school on the west side of Atlanta. He understands what the culture's like down here. He understands a taste of the Southern cooking down here. If he were to become the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons potentially. And he's coached at many different levels of the defense. It's not just like he has one specific specialty. He's coached, obviously, at linebacker coach. He also has experience working with DBs. So when looking at that, it shows that he has a lot of knowledge on that defensive side of the football, even at such a young age. He understands the defense. He understands what he's going to be looking for in his defense. And then he has coached just at many different levels in general. He's been coaching for many years, really since graduating high school. He went right into coaching. So it shows that, man, he has a passion for coaching, someone who's coached at many different levels, worked his way up the ranks. It shows that he's gone about it the right way. He has obviously made his way up the coaching tree and has landed himself in the position he's in now. But with every pro comes a couple cons, and there are definitely some cons to bringing in a Mike Macdonald. Number one, he is unproven as a head coach, which, I think you got to look at and say, obviously he's never been the lead man at any level, even though what I think differs him from a Ben Johnson or a Bobby Slowick is the fact that he understands coaching at many different levels. And, not to say that they don't either. Obviously they do, but he understands what he's doing at many different levels with being a head coach and understanding, those different aspects between the difference of, high school and college in the NFL. But I think, to me, the biggest thing with bringing a Mike Macdonald in, and why, honestly, to me, I really don't know about it, there could be a big conflict of interest with the style or the system Mike Macdonald likes to run with his defense. It is more zone. He likes to really pride himself off of having those linebackers and safeties just sit back and make the play. And he might blitz here and there, but he is just more of a zone guy. Whereas we all know with Ryan Nielsen, he loves to play man. He loves to be aggressive. He loves to have his defenders right in your face. From time to time, he'll like to rush some guys. I really feel like that could be a conflict of interest. And also, while yes, he does have specialty in working with linebackers and working with DBs, this current Falcons defense is really supposed to be built off of that front seven. Obviously, we brought in a David Onyemata. We brought in a Calais Campbell, which we don't know if he'll be back, but Grady's obviously still here. You have a lot of guys on that defense line, and that's really what this Falcons defense is supposed to be built off of. Getting pressure to the quarterback, getting in your face, and playing that aggressive style of defense, which really isn't. Mike Macdonald's defense is an aggressive defense, but it's not the same type as a Ryan Nielsen is. And we all know that, for better or for worse, obviously the defense, they had their, shaky moments, especially at the end of the year. But for much of the year, this was the best defense we'd seen in years in Atlanta. And you see right now that we're not letting anybody interview anyone on our staff. I mean, especially Ryan Nielsen. So you would definitely want to keep a Ryan Nielsen here and continue to build off of what you have started. Which is the other thing. Defense isn't really the major concern with the Falcons right now. It is the offense. That's really the knock on, going to be the knock on a lot of these defensive-minded head coaches. Is defense really isn't our concern. It's the offense. Now, granted, that shouldn't be the only factor, but when you're looking at a Mike Macdonald and obviously other guys, and obviously Belichick, but Belichick's a case within its own. That let's just call it for what it is. That's a case within its own. With that being said, that's really just going to be the knock on a lot of these defensive guys, and one being a Mike Macdonald. But overall, what are my final thoughts? I think if you were to bring a Mike Macdonald in, you're really looking to shift the culture. You're really looking to, bring that, fierceless attitude, which we do need. Don't get me mistaken. But you're going to have your growing pains if you were to bring in a Mike Macdonald, especially with that defense and how this current defense is built to play and the style it's built to play in versus what a Mike Macdonald wants to do. So to me, I really feel like that's where the big conflict of interest comes in. And that's why I have to say, to me, there is a big concern with bringing Mike Macdonald in because the Falcons are ready to win now. And to me, you're going to have to do a little bit of building if a Mike Macdonald were to come in here. So with that being said, I listen, give all the credit to him. He could make a good head coach one day, but I just don't see him as a top candidate here in Atlanta right now. But then again, give all the respect to him, all the respect he's done, climbing his way up the ranks, and all the respect he'll, continue to garner, and that all he does do on the defensive side of the football and for coaching. But to me, it just doesn't scream top candidate at, right now, at the moment for the Atlanta Falcons. But with that being said, another one down, man, I'm going to go ahead and probably say we're going to do Mike Vrabel tomorrow, talk about Mike Vrabel, and then go from there. Obviously, the Falcons completed a couple more interviews, so probably going to end up looking at those candidates. We still got some more candidates to look at, man. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.